student athlete.
I am a student athlete. Watch the replay.
Welcome. This evening we are live. This is another edition of the replay where we still trying to make your day. And I am your host, Jabril A. Rashad. Once in a while, we have to come and do our special show that is called I Am Student Athlete. And when we do that, we don't get in the opportunity to talk about the latest sports of what's going on with all of the NBA playoffs. Everything is shaping up either way towards the NBA playoff, I should say. So we have to table that and do something that's really more important, a little bit more special. So I got a special show this evening because joining me live, I have some very special individuals that I'm going to be bringing to the stage. And we're going to be talking about what's going on in our community. We have a summit that is coming up that is called the Youth Educational Entrepreneurship Summit. And it's going to be March the 28th. That's on a Friday. March the 28th on a Friday at the Wilmer Hutchins Auditorium. Address is 5520 Langdon Road. That's in Dallas. And so we have what we would call, some would call anyway, a state of emergency. I call it a crisis, to the point to where we have to work on these resolutions. So I'm only just one person. So I got a team of guys that I have no doubt can deliver what we're trying to deliver in the community. So without any further delay, I'm going to be bringing them to the stage one by one. I don't know what kind of order they may be in, but they are going to come to the stage. So joining me first out the box is my guy, Mr. Rodney Woods, CEO of Playbook Investors Network, acronym PEN. Good evening to you, my brother.
Good evening, Jabril. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous, man. So glad that you can join me. So glad you can join me.
Man, thank you for having me here, man. This is a blessing to be here today, brother. Absolutely. Today is my birthday, Jay.
Oh, man, we got to get everybody so we can wish you happy birthday, man. But let me bring the next guest up to the stage because he's a busy man. He's like my nephew, man. Ain't no doubt about it. I got to bring none other than my man, my brother, my little nephew, Elijah Muhammad, EJ. That's what we call him, EJ. Good evening to you, EJ.
Good evening, man. How's it going?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. This is a fabulous evening. I'm glad to have you on. And I know you're a busy young man because you out there working hard, preparing, getting ready for the NFL 2025 draft. So we're gonna get in and get out, okay? So let me bring the next person to the stage. Y'all bear with me here just a second because I got to scroll this up so I can see everybody. And this next gen I'm going to be bringing to the stage, been knowing the man since we probably was in the 4th grade, man. We played high school football together, man. It's none other than my brother, Mr. Greg Lewis, out of Wilmer Hutchins, Texas A&M, by way of the San Diego Chargers. Good evening to you, Greg Lou.
What's up, baby? What's going on? What's happening? How you doing?
Oh, man, I can't call it, man. Surely a blessing, man, for you brothers coming on, man. So I'm about to part ways because I got to go over to my right side now and bring this brother up, man. He's a Dallas Roosevelt Mustang, no doubt. He's doing some fabulous work in the community. Man, I can't call it. I actually got 2 Roosevelt Mustangs on here tonight, so I don't know. I might have to leave one of them down in the box. But I'm going to go with the senior right now that graduated before my next guy in 85. My man, none other than Mr. Mark Tolliver, coming to the stage with us this evening. What's up, my brother? Good evening to you, Mark.
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
Oh, man, we're doing fabulous, man. We are live. So let me keep it going so I can get everybody else on this stage, man, that's just joining us. This next guy, again, another guy I've been knowing since probably 4th grade, man. We played ball against each other, man. Hoop, long-time friend. He's like a brother to me, but he's another Roosevelt Mustang. That's the only thing with him, though. But I love him just the same. None other than my guy, Mr. Darrell Williams. Good evening to you, Darrell. I didn't know you changed your name to Lisa, though.
Say, man, look here, man. Okay. You was on the roll and you were doing good.
I was doing
You
good.
were doing good, boy.
That's my sister, man. She's a part of. They started the group. We'll talk about it. We'll get into that Sports Business Institute, and she worked very hard behind the scenes. She really does. And last but not least, man, not last but not least, this brother here, he joined us. He had his own show he was doing earlier, so I got to get him on because he's been he's a Kimber Knight. You know, they just won the high school championship, but I'm glad he texted me and everything. Said, Jabril, I can get on tonight. Bring me on. I say, okay, I'm bringing him on. So I got none other than this guru, this investor right here, Mr. Antoine McVay. What up? What up, hey?
What's up, Doc? Kimber Knights, baby.
Hey, man, you gonna make us all look at Rod got his shirt on but no tie, but look at the rest of it. That's all right, man. That's all right. But last but not least, man, I gotta bring this brother up here. I'm telling you, man, this is my brother from another mother, man. We've been riding for a very long time. His former NBA player, man. That's how I met him, man. You know, way back in the early 90s, man. We go way back that far, man. But he joined us this evening too. I got none other than Mr. Anthony Bonner in the house this evening. What's up, AB? Unmute your mic for me. Now you was doing fine. I know your mic.
I got it, black man.
All right, man. All right. And I just want to share some brief information for those of y'all still coming on, logging on. You can chat out in the chat and so forth, and we'll get any questions y'all may have because we're not going to be on here very long. We do want to talk about this youth summit that's coming up on March the 28th on that Friday. And like I say again, we won't be on here long, but I want to make sure that everybody have a chance to be able to address some things that we want to talk about briefly. So I want to say again, welcome to the platform. This is the replay where we still try to stay with the special edition of I Am Student Athlete. So guys, fellas, I'm going to be asking a couple of questions, and I just want you all to if somebody could, I'm hearing some feedback. Just turn that down for me just a little bit. Let's see here. Make sure my speaker is loud. But listen, I want to talk about the this great opportunity that we all have to make a difference and an impact within our community. A lot of things are happening that's going around, you know, within the Dallas-Fort Worth community, and not just in Dallas-Fort Worth, all across the country, in the inner cities, even in the suburbs. And we want to talk about it with our youth. You've seen a lot of the videos, you know, kids running into malls and just snatching stuff off the racks and just running out. Kids knocking on doors and shooting people for whatever reason. So it's a lot of things that are going on. And I think that in order to push back this what they would call normalcy, because we do definitely need a new normalcy. I think it's programs and symposiums like this and summits like this that we need to do more of, so we can get back in the community and let them know that there are men out here, real men that still cares about this community, and this is part of the platform. So I'm gonna come around. I just want to, you know, first y'all give me just a second. First of all, I want to find, you know, I want to know, ask a question in regards to the summit. Hold on, give me just a second. I'm going to get I'll talk about everything this evening. We want to talk about this platform, and we will be having another platform on next Tuesday. We got some other guys that's going to be joining us as well on this platform. So again, I'm going to start with you, Roger, first and foremost, as I come down with this question right here. I want to know we're talking about sports, but the question is simply this: how does sports impact today's culture, and what percentage do you think it plays amongst our youth? Now, can you get first, Rob?
Yeah, so we got a real bad echo.
I think everyone should mute out until you want.
Yeah, let me do that then. Yeah, everybody cut your mute off until Rob finishes, and then and EJ, you'll be next. If you can see, we'll go in that order, okay? So EJ, then Greg, and AB, and so on, okay?
All right, Jabril. So give me that question again, please.
Okay. Yeah. The question is simply this: how does sports impact today's culture? And at what percentage do you think it plays an impact or have an impact amongst our youth? Yeah. How does sports impact our youth today? I'm speaking about today. And what percentage do you think that it impacts our youth?
Well, in today's society, sports plays a big role in every kid's life. One, from a health standpoint, a camaraderie standpoint, understanding how to interact with others, the whole nine. So percentage wise, it's a huge percentage. I think it's really big for every kid to play sports. At least when all of us on the screen today, we all play sports. We played every sport. We played baseball, football, basketball. You ran track. You did all those things. You interacted with each other. That's why you have such a bond today amongst all the brothers here that you've met over the years, grew up with over the years, competed against over the years. So it plays a huge part in every child's life. But let me say it more importantly too. It plays a role in every child's life, but more importantly, in our own community, it plays a big role in every Black kid's life, to understand how to network with each other, how to communicate with each other, how to talk to each other, how to, lift one up and get you to the next level. So it plays a big role, or a huge, big role in our society today.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. EG, I'm going to come to you. What do you think the percentage may be, and how does sports today impact our youth and our culture?
When you think about how sports impacts the youth, it has a huge cultural impact. I think that it's a rite of passage. Piggybacking off what he said, like, it's a rite of passage going through sports as a young kid, especially in Texas, growing up playing football, basketball. Like, these are your lifelong friends you kind of grow up with, as you, come of age and become a young man. So I think it has a huge impact. All the young dudes look up to football players and athletes and in the community. So I think it has a huge impact. And with percentage, you mean how many play sports, or just what do you mean by percentage?
Well, in the percentage in terms of, there's a lot of diverse things going on, because I always allude to the fact that in our era, we made our, if it was a basketball that needed to be made, we made the basketball goal, if there was a goal cart that needed to be made, we made the goal cart. So we didn't make any excuses. If we wanted to, we need a track, heck, man, we'll get out in the street and race. We just did it. So now you have, all the gaming and the PS2s and so forth. So when I talk about percentages, I'm talking about, is it 20%, 30% in terms of the impact, the social impact that it has on our youth? In terms, I should have qualified it by saying about them being involved or getting involved, actually doing it, as opposed to just, getting on a game and just doing it that way. The percentage of that.
Percentage of that, I would say, like you said, technology has taken over too. So I would say it's probably around, they're still very active too, though. So I'll probably say around like 70% are actively playing, and the others are like gamers and interested in like social media and other things and like streaming. But I would say it's still around like 70%, or even probably higher than that.
Okay, and let me go over here to Greg. Greg, what's your take on today's athletes? When you compare and you think about our era and so forth, and then how they're being brought up and the impact that sports had on us, the way it has on them today, and that percentage. What do you think, Greg?
Well, I believe today's young guys, they have more, opportunities, more, things to train to get better. Whereas, like when we was in school at Hutch, we didn't have no weight program. We had to go run the hill on 45. We was hungry, you know what I'm saying? So we had to do things. I run from here to the next neighborhood or go challenge people. And, it's hard for the young guys to do that now, because you can't go to this neighborhood because you aren't supposed to be over there. And then the most important thing is, I was fortunate enough to have someone who really cared about me, playing sports, because learning sports and letting the guys understand that the higher you go up in the sports, the bigger the man is, and the better the talent is. When you get to college, it's people already there, the classroom, all these type of things that come along with these athletes. And they have to be careful about who, they have in their life at a young age, getting them ready to go to that point,
Absolutely, man. You brought up a good point, Greg. I didn't even think about it, because like when we came up, it wasn't a certain neighborhood you couldn't go run in. Now it's like, hey man, you from this set, you from here or whatever. But we just played. We just played all over. That's what we did. So that's a great point. Great point. AB, what do you think, my guy? The percentages of what's happening now with our youth. And I know you're actively involved with your son, definitely with Brock. So what do you think in terms of the impact that sports still make on our youth today, and that percentage?
The impact is still huge. I don't think you can really pinpoint the effect, because it still serves as a means of young Black men having an opportunity and a purpose to escape their circumstances, to get out of the hood, to get an education, to try and take care of mama or make a better life. It's still a motivator. And if you look at it from another standpoint, just not what it does for our young Black men, look at what it does for men in general. I mean, there's not a Sunday in Dallas you can't walk by and see a man with a Dallas Cowboy jersey on or an NBA jersey on, because it allows men who haven't tapped the fullness of their own potential to vicariously live through other men. They like being connected to men who are successful. And if that's an NBA player with a jersey or a football player, all this is sports. And then lastly, when you look at it culturally, sports is a uniter. It's the only place we can go to an event and people can drop their political views or their issues and root for the same team or the same player. And it's always served the same purpose, my man. I mean, it unites people and it gives people a moment where they can come together for 2 or 3 hours and forget about whatever they need to forget about and have a common cause. So it's still very important in our culture, collectively as well as individually.
Okay, before I come to you, Antoine, let me just remind the people who are just coming on. This is the Youth Educational Entrepreneurship Summit, and I have a few of my guys who will be there on Friday evening, March the 28th. We need for you all to bring the parents need to bring the children, or the children bring the parents. However y'all get them up there, because this is serious business that we're trying to handle up on. You know, we've heard the cries and so forth, so we're trying to provide a solution to the problem. So Antoine, I'll come to you in terms of the impact, the social impact that sports still making on our youth today, and what percentage would you give it?
I think the percentage is quite low. I believe it's less, or maybe around 50%. And then if you look at gender and racial, then I think it's even lower. I think the boys is decreasing. It's probably in the 40-something percent, because you got games now and kids playing games. Not everyone is athletic. And so I think that is decreasing. Now, the benefits and what it's done, I mean, it's like what the brothers have said. I mean, some people look at it as a way out to help mom and to live a better life. And then you got some that says, you know what, I just like playing it. Their life is okay. If you look at some of the demographics of these schools and some of these athletes that are playing, they got their mom and their father, and they got everything that a lot of us didn't have and wish we had. You know, they're just playing because they're in the perfect situation to get better. They got people that they can work with now to become a better athlete. A lot of us, we didn't have that. We were coaching ourselves. If you had someone that was coaching you, that was rare. You know what I mean? I'm talking about on your own. Like now they got the skill camps and all of that the kids can go to. It wasn't really a lot of that back in our day. It was rare. And if they did have it, you were blessed if you had a coach that would drive you there, or you had the family member that could take you there to help you get better and compete with others. So I think it's decreased pretty drastically. Okay, but it's very impactful.
Fair enough, man. Good take on that. And Daryl, let me come over to you and give me your take on that.
I totally agree. I don't see it being, it's still impactful. It's still glamorized. But I definitely agree with McBain that it's decreasing because you have this one-on-one training session now, and you get to some of these smaller school markets, they don't even have enough players to even play on the team. So I think the impact is going to always be there because it's glamorized. You see it on TV, and as a kid, that's what you emulate. You emulate what you watch all the time, which are sports in our culture. And it is a gateway. It is a pathway to do other things. It can elevate you to with friendships and camaraderies and all the other things that go along with sports. But I think it's more now. It's all about the individual. We played together. It just didn't matter. Now it's about me. The percentage. I mean, it could vary, man, just depending on where you are.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And just before I come to you real quick, Mark, I just want to pick it back on what Daryl was talking about. That percentage is, I think, for whatever reason, like I say, sometimes they say television, and television, I always say, will tell your vision if you stay in the house too long looking at these things, man. You're not actively doing it. Like Daryl, we recall going out and playing. I think we probably played at 3 gyms or something in one day. We were just going from gym, and we was instead of bar hopping, we gym hopping. That's the way we did it back then. Big difference. So I think that definitely plays a role and has an effect on it. So Mark, let me come over to you right quick and get your take on this. What do you think in terms of the social impact that this is making on our youth today, and the percentage in terms of sports, how they look at it today versus how we looked at it when we was coming up in our era?
Okay, so this is the problem. The problem is the elementary school. When we were young, we had sports in elementary school. It's still a great impact, but the impact is on the kids' behavior. Now, how sports is impacting the young kids is it controls their behavior, because now athletics is used as a way to make sure that they go to school, get their grades and stuff like that. Now, I know with us being older, you say that's a part of the game, but if it's not taught in elementary school, when they get in junior high school, it's too much of a distraction. We're trying to catch them when they get in junior high school and high school, and it's too late. We got to catch them in elementary school. In elementary school, through his participation trophies. You just get on the team and you get a trophy. And a lot of the coaches are just teachers that are just teaching just because they need a teacher. When you start talking about specialized training and stuff like that, you got somebody that's really mentoring that kid and directing them. But just everyday kids that are going, they're not getting the education of how to be an athlete like we did when we were young. By the time they get to middle school, they're being taught how to be an athlete. And the kids that know how to be an athlete and get the specialized training, they far ahead of them, and they get lost in the sauce because they can't compete. It's the education that they're learning at a young age. They're not getting it when they're young.
Right. Well said, Mark. Well said. Let me do this right here. I want to transition just a little bit because this is an educational question. But before I ask this question, I want to show a couple of videos so we can all have a perspective when I ask this next question, because I think it's part of the reason why we're going to do what we're going to do and why we're going to try to continue this trend upward instead of downward. But let me play a couple of clips that I want to share with you guys of what actually has been going on and taking place in the Dallas community. But when I see it, I always think about all across the country, all across the board, we can find this narrative. But let me play these couple of clips, and then I'll come back and ask this question.
Neighbors say a boy as young as 11 years old was shot and killed at this apartment complex on the 3300 block of Southern Oaks Boulevard in southern Dallas.
It appears to be just a beef between 2 female juveniles that led to a deadly outcome.
Around 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Dallas police say a fight broke out between 2 teenage girls.
One of the female juveniles retrieved a handgun and fired toward the direction of the other female that she was fighting with. However, the shot missed that juvenile and struck a male juvenile bystander.
The boy was rushed to an area hospital and later died. Police say the teenage girl ran to a nearby apartment complex and was later taken into custody. This news hit hard for Cassie Sheffield, who lives around the corner.
I find it very sad and disheartening of all the violence, the senseless violence, especially with the young people.
Cassie is with the organization No More Violence.
It shook me. Young people is getting younger and younger, the victims and the perpetrators.
The big question remains:
how are these young people getting a hold of so many weapons?
Cassie is begging the public to please help one another.
I pray for more help in the community, from the community. All this don't tell, I don't want to get involved, it needs to stop.
People were killed in a shooting at this car wash behind me, and a family member tells me that it was a man and his 5-year-old daughter. Take a look. That same relative provided me with this picture of Chucky Smith and his young daughter. I'm told her birthday was just yesterday. The two were reportedly at this Slappy's Express car wash located off I-20 and Forest Hill Drive shortly before 11 a.m. when they were fatally shot. Family and friends were visibly distraught as they arrived at the scene, folks leaning on one another for support. I spoke to Smith's aunt, who is desperate for answers.
All we know is that he was told he was doing the car, cleaning the car out, and somebody came through shooting and killed him and the baby. He was a good kid, y'all. He was. He didn't bother nobody. He didn't. Him and that baby.
14 and 15-year-old who they say killed 16-year-old Marvin Rivera last month in East Oak Cliff. The news of the arrest came after Fox 4 aired its weekly trackdown segment about his murder on Wednesday. Surveillance video from that day was key for investigators. Right after our story aired Wednesday night, a Fox 4 viewer called in a tip into Crime Stoppers. By Thursday night, an arrest warrant was signed, and Friday morning, the arrests were made. This was the surveillance video shared with Fox 4 that aired Wednesday on Trackdown. Minutes before Rivera was killed, he was seen driving in a neighborhood off Cedar Crest Boulevard near Keast. Shortly after, you see two young men walking in the same direction. Dallas police say they got into the SUV and Rivera was shot. He crashed the SUV into a home.
After that, we see two young men, the same young men who were possibly walking on Dalview, now running from Diceman onto Brock Street back down to Dalview.
Okay. And I'm so glad that we got this in order here, because this question that I'm going to be asking to the panel this evening, definitely want to, Rodney, you to talk about it, because for those of y'all who don't know or didn't know, Rodney used to be a Dallas police officer as well as a detective. And he's, I will say this right quick, Rod used to stop me way back in the day in my younger days. He helped me out a few times when I want to fight in the club and everything. Yo, that's my guy. Him and his brother Reggie. Yeah, that's my guy. So I want to come to you, Rod, on this right here, because looking at these videos, I wanted to run them, consecutively. Looking at these videos, and what touched me in the first video, the lady by the name Miss Cassie, she has her organization, was an 11-year-old young child that was just an innocent bystander after two 14-year-olds had a fight and one decided to go pick up a gun, right? And we've seen this narrative so many times. So here is the problem. And you wonder why. Some of the posts that I've been putting out there, I'm asking a question, and you wonder, and you want to know why, or why you have a question that we need a summit, a real summit that I think we're going to be trying to provide a solution. But it's up to you. When I tell the audience, the parents to get involved, it's up to you if you're going to take hold of what we're trying to implement. But this young man lost his life at the age of 11, and he was and I'm gonna put his picture up. His name was Devin McFall. That's what they was talking about. The two young girls that called and got accidentally killed. 11 years of age. 11 years of age. And I can go on and on and on talking about this same narrative. Young 11 years old. 11-year-old down in Minden, Louisiana, picks up a gun and kills a former mayor of that town. And so we hear these stories all the time. So, Rod, I want to come to you and ask you this question, and I'll send this question around. And this is simply this. In regards to education today, do we need to eradicate the entire system? Or is the current normalization, is it just fine? Do we need to eradicate the entire system? In other words, do we need a new normalcy? Because the current normalization seems to be just fine. Seems to be. But Rod, I want you to address that.
I agree. I agree with you. It's got to be redone, but it's kind of like what I think that was Mark early on, or some talking about, starting early on, with the young kids, right? parenting is there's no blueprint for one, and these kids are being raised by social media. No matter how we look at it, how we think about it, how we digest it, our kids are being raised by social media. Yeah, if you got a two-parent household, that's a blessing. But most of the time, you don't have a two-parent household, and most of the time, you don't have dad in the household with a young boy, or a young girl, that kind of stuff. So, this is always like the saddest things you can come up on when some bystander's been shot or any kid. It don't matter about the bystander too, but any child that his or her life has been taken because of some foolishness, or I've been watching, or I've been listening to rap music, or I've been glamorizing. Violence is glamorized, man. Let's keep it honest, right? Everything that we think about, when it comes to fighting, these kids don't run to retreat. They run to see what's going on. And that's the problem, because you don't teach your child to retreat anymore. We don't even know most of the time what they're doing. It's the truth. So a lot of times parents are in denial of their kids doing malicious stuff, acting out, doing things away from home, the whole nine. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of things that has to be changed, because these kids are dying at a rapid rate. And it's not like, man, come on. You can't let your child play these old vicious video games. I'm sorry. Fortnite. They thinking that you might die and come back tomorrow. So it's a lot of perception in the brain. It's like anything else. If we do it repeatedly, we start to think that way. We start to act that way. When we train in sports for basketball, football, baseball, it's about training, repetition. Think about the repetition they going through when they looking at video games, just shooting and killing. Rap music. Every rap song, every lyrics, but you don't even know your language in this classroom. So it's a lot of things, though, that is really, really tough. I don't know. I think this is a start, having a summit, for those who want to listen, for those who want to act on some of this. Because no matter what we say and do, if you don't come and act on it, and put some things in place, it's still going to be the same situation, right? So right now, these kids are facing so many challenges because, it's embedded in them. It's embedded in social media. It's embedded in the rap game. It's embedded in everything that they pretty much do. And the violence, that's embedded in everything, even the movies, everything. Kids are watching this stuff, man, they taking it to the next level.
No, you're absolutely right, Rob. You're absolutely right, man. Y'all excuse me for a second, but you're absolutely right. And I couldn't have said it any better, man, in terms of we have to have action, putting action into place. And one of the things I want to make it very clear, this is not a panacea. It's not a cure-all in terms of what we're trying to do, because we understand, and I'm always one of my favorite sayings, man, in order for evil to prevail, good people do nothing.
Yeah.
And so if you're telling me that the narrative is this, then what do we do to combat that? That's my whole argument to the thing. We just can't sit back and say, okay, yeah, this is the narrative. This is what's going on. We'll just sit back and continue to allow it to run rapidly and then don't say anything. My thing is, okay, we understand that Satan has his plan and God also has his plan. But God is the best of planners. And we have to believe and trust that at the end of the day. So I don't want to be long-winded, because I want to come over here quickly to Greg. And Greg, get your take on it in terms of the videos that you saw and the narrative. In terms of the question was simply, do we eradicate the whole entire system, or is the normalization just fine?
Well, I'm kind of with Rodney on, especially the video game. That's a big part of it. The internet, and then you can look at it. A lot of these kids, their parents are young. They had them at younger ages, so they're not parents. They're friends with their kids. And they not worrying about what they're doing. They get them a video game and they go on and doing what they want, and they're not keeping up with their kids. They doing what they doing. So it's like a lot of, unparenting. And then you have peer pressure. I'm going to be with my homeboys and what they do, and then I'm just going to follow along until you get in front of that person with that black robe on and they tell you, hey,
Right.
You finna get a life sentence, or you finna get 40 years. Now it becomes real what you did, but you don't know that until it's too late because you had no one to tell them guys that that's a video game that's shooting, that's action, that's stop, that's not real, and then reality sit in and it's just, it's crazy, but that's how I feel on it. That's my take.
Yeah, Mark. Before I come over to you, I'm gonna come down to EJ right quick because I know it's his. I can see where you're buffing a little bit, nephew. So, what I'm gonna do is come to you because he is the youngest one that's on this platform. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Let me do this right here. I'll take you down for a second. Okay, Mark. Let me go ahead. Let him work on that, and I'll come to you right quick, Mark. In terms of this whole educational question that we have about eradicating the entire system, because I do think we need a new normalcy, definitely. But the normalization of what's going on seems like it's kind of fine. People becoming desensitized. Because you hear something now, it used to be where it'll shock the heck out of you back in our era. Now people have become so desensitized to it because they hear it all the time. And so I just think we just need to eradicate and start it all over again. But you say what to that though, Mark?
Okay, so when we talk about free will, right? We talk about free will. Free will, we have the free will to make whatever decisions we make. Okay, so when we're talking about young men, we're talking about young men and young men being leaders and survivors. Okay, a lot of times we have to understand that some of these guys just gonna go to the dark side. Some of these guys like that street life. We're gonna lose some of them. As hard as that is to take, some of them are gonna just like that. The ones that are gonna just like that, it's just like it. There's nothing you can do. You can try, but the ones that like to go into the dark, they gonna go into the dark. They're making the decision to fight. It's cognitive bias, is what they're seeing. Remember, like maybe about 2007, uh, Madison. I think Madison had just won the state title. They had the big man. I guess his name was Bubba, and Wilma Hutchins had the little point guard. They all played on they playing the video games. They decided to go out and fight because they got into it over the video game. Big boy from Madison hit the little boy from I ain't talking little, but hit the point guard from Wilma Hutchins, knocked him down, hit the curb, killed the boy. Just because they made the decision to get upset and fight, instead of us teaching them how to be disciplined, mind, body, and spirit. We're teaching them how to be combative. Instead of teaching them emotional intelligence, we're teaching them how to get that dog, have their dog. And now they're fighting and they're taking the aggression out into the world instead of them being stable and understanding how to control themselves. The first thing they doing is fighting. When they come up against anything that's blocking them, they lashing out. They're too emotional. They're too emotional. The leadership is wrong. What we're teaching them is wrong. But we got to teach leadership with the guys that want to lead, like y'all said. The summit is for the people that want it, that want to get something from it. Don't come and waste the time. Come and get something from it so that you can go back and you can be a leader in your home, in your community, in your school. Learn how to be a leader. These kids are getting in trouble because they want to get in trouble. You're in the wrong place, wrong time. Choices, consequences. I'm sorry. Been in the game a long time. When I met Rodney back in the 90s, he was on his way out. I was just getting into law enforcement. We done see, bro, I done been to court testifying to people because of what they've done wrong after telling them for years not to do it. I want to go to the graduations, doc. I want to go to the weddings. I done perform marriage ceremonies, seeing kids graduate from college and high school and all of that. That's what we supposed to be celebrating. I understand that the kids are losing their minds. They're losing their minds because they're hopeless. Why are these kids hopeless? You're a teenager. You got your whole life. What are we teaching them? That's the problem. The kids ain't grasping what they're teaching. What are they longing for? It's the wrong thing.
Okay, Mark. It sounds like to me you got that Joe Clark philosophy, man. Put the chain on the doors, sort them out, and put the chain on the doors, and keep it moving.
Wait a minute, bro. Wait a minute. Look at the brothers on the panel, bro. Look at what we survived, dude. All of these dudes. You talking about? Kimball, Wilma Hutchins, Roosevelt. Come on, Doc.
Right, right. Well, let me come over here to EJ right quick because he's having a little bit of technical difficulty with his buffer, and I think it's just where he's at though. Nephew, if you can go ahead and go forward and let's see what we can get from it. If it continues, then yeah, you have to exit and like I said, we'll try it again another time. But go ahead and see what we got from you. Hopefully everything is working properly. Unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you talking to the mic?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
It's buffering. Hold on.
You just start talking. We can hear you fine though. We was hearing it. Okay, well, let me come over here to AB right quick. AB, you heard? Hold on, just let me cut it down just a little, my mic down a little bit so I'm not screaming in you guys' ears. And AB, you might have to cut yours, whatever you got down a little bit.
Yeah, I turned it down.
Okay, so I want to come to you, AB, in terms of what we're discussing in terms of the eradication of the whole entire system and this normalizing what they have going on now, man. Do you think we should just eradicate the entire system or stay with what the norm is and keep trying to battle?
Well, you and I kind of had this conversation. I remember several weeks ago, maybe several months ago, when we were talking about what the new norm is. And the new norm is just being dysfunctional. You know, we live in a dysfunctional society. We live in a dysfunctional world and people are desensitized to it. But I think when you look at the problems and the issues that we face, there are no natural solutions to problems that were caused on a natural level. You said it earlier, you're talking about the evil we combat and God's plan. Most of the things we're wrestling with, my man, has nothing to even do with the natural outward behaviors that we see, because a lot of these kids, a lot of these parents, a lot of our people are in serious spiritual battles, my man, that they have no answers to and no idea how to even figure them out. And there are no natural solutions to this. I mean, when you go back even to the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve and the first murder that ever happened with Cain and Abel, that wasn't a video game. That was human nature. We go back to 1981. I had a brother who was 19 years old, about to go to Europe for 10 years. He was home for 30 days on a leave and got hit in a drive-by shooting. That had nothing to do with video games. In the 70s, my uncle got hit in the face with a shotgun. I mean, murder and mayhem has been a part of our culture and humanity since humanity has began. And unfortunately, it's going to stay that way. My brother Mark said that, like, you know, you have free will. You've been given a choice to make some choices. You can get educated. You can get all the degrees you want. You can become an entrepreneur. You can do whatever you want to do. But until there's an internal switch, an internal change, an internal transformation to really look at life the way it is and make some tough choices to change your life, your circumstances, and the people who God has entrusted in your care as a husband, as a father, as a leader of young men, then the choices I make affect a whole multitude of people. And I'm aware of that. So I'm very intentional about the choices I make, but I was not always that way. That's something that happened over time. That's something that happened out of failure. I'm sure if Rodney had met me and Mark had met me in my 20s and 30s, it's not that I was so good and I didn't do a lot of wrong. It's just that I didn't get caught. At the end of the day, and I get caught as an NBA basketball player and as a man, I drove drunk. I should have had DUIs. I could have killed somebody and got manslaughter. There are many other things that I did that I just didn't get caught with. But to sum this up, my man, we're talking about, there's been many marches. Now the march in the call is for a civil righteousness march, a march of the inner man, the soul, and the spirit. We're always addressing the mind and the body. You know, we want to teach people how to get the bag and get more money and how to rise and play the corporate game. But that's just feeding right into the evil that you're talking about, because that's all about me, me, me. How do we change our neighborhoods? How do we take back our homes, knowing that the father who's missing out of 60, 70% of the homes in our neighborhoods, he's not there. So these kids don't even have the basic foundation of what it means to be a man and understand manhood and many of the choices that go along with the responsibility that goes with being a king, being a leader, walking upright, understanding right choices from wrong choices. Those things are imparted into you because you're around like-minded people who impart that stuff into you. So, I mean, this is not a quick fix. Like you said, the summit is just going to kind of address the symptoms. It's not really going to cure the sickness. It's going to be a Band-Aid. But those that attend will have an opportunity to receive some light and some divine information that will allow them maybe to awaken and be aware that they can still win, that it ain't over, that it might look bad all around them and everything else, but the war you want to fight and the culture you want to change is a culture of your heart, that it starts internal and then it will spread externally.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. And again, for those of you who are just joining us, this is the replay where we're still trying to make your day. We're talking about the Youth Educational Entrepreneurship Summit that's coming up on Friday evening, March the 28th. And I am joined by, just these insightful brothers, you know, Mr. Rodney Woods, Gregory Lewis, Mark Tolliver, Anthony Bonner, Antoine McBay, Darrell Williams. We had EJ Muhammad that was with us early, had a little bit of technical difficulty. And we're talking about it, guys. We're very serious about making a commitment. This is an assignment I think is on from the Most High on high. And I think that in terms of what's going on, we want to be able to show the positive side of this of nature, the excellent pattern that we was created out of, trying to get back to some of the base and the fundamentals of that. So I'm going to come over to my man Antoine McBay, and we're going to talk about the same question. The question that we're talking about right now at the moment is regarding the system itself. Do we need to eradicate the entire thing, or do we stay with the normal trend? And Antoine, you say what to that?
Eradicate it. It's not working.
Yeah.
You know, look, my wife and I just pulled my daughter out of school, and we enrolled her to start school in July in Vietnam. Complete different culture, complete different system, because we don't like it here. Now, not everybody can do that, obviously. I've got another son at Vinh University in his third year in Vietnam, because this system is broken. It is just like Brother AB said. It's like my brother Mark said. Same thing Wood said. It's the system. When I look at spending time in Asia, it's night and day difference. The YouTube videos that they watch in the US versus North America, there's so much booty popping and everything and gun waving. You don't see any of that in Asia. None. There's not half-naked women on videos in Asia. They're dressed and they dance. It's a different culture. Because I have a chance to do it all over again, because I've made plenty bad choices and decisions, and just like Brother Bond said, I just didn't get caught, right? I want to do it a different way, in a way that I'm able to do today that I couldn't do before. We're in a time now, and Mark said it, Brother Bonner said it, change is a door that can only be opened from the inside. The people got to want to change. If you seek and you shall find. The information is reserved for the seekers. So everybody ain't going to come seeking.
Right.
But if you can save the one,
right,
that's enough.
Absolutely.
Sadly to say, just like some people, they like the gangbang. They like that life. And there's nothing that we can say. That ain't a seminar. There's not an event that you can do to change it. Because that's what they want. That's the choice they made until they're ready to change. And I've always said this, until the pain of remaining the same outweighs the pain of change, will one change? Until the pain of one remaining in their same situation, their same circumstances outweigh whatever pain it takes for them to make that change in their life, that's when they will change. And for some, it may take 25 years. And then they come out a changed man. For some, it may take 10 years. And they come out a changed man. It's sad to say it, but that's the reality that we live in today. These young men and women have to want something different. And they have to make that choice, irregardless of who their parents is or where the mom is, where the dad is, irregardless of that. They got to make a decision. They know right from wrong. And the sad thing is, it's only going to get worse. Why? Because of our economic structure.
Right.
I read a book 20 years ago entitled Why You Should Be Rich. You know who wrote the damn book? Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki 20 years ago. And everything that is happening economically today, he told the game 20 years ago.
Right, right.
He told exactly what was going to happen. It was just in a book.
Right.
He said that we are going to have an hourglass effect when it comes to our economics. There's going to be the have and there's going to be the have-nots. And depending on what choices and decisions you make will determine if you squeeze up in the hourglass or squeeze down. There is no more middle class.
Right. Wow. You know what? And let me just say, for those of y'all who are sitting back in the audience who are listening to this, and you know I'll be uploading this later on, they'll still get wind of this. I mean, you're listening to one, and like I say, these guys, these group of men that God blessed me to be able to reach out to. This is what you're going to be hearing. We're not playing around with this thing. We're serious. This is serious business. We're living in serious times. Kind of piggybacking off what you just said, Antoine. The only thing that's constant in the universe is change. So either you're changing with the change or the change is over you. But you got to want to change. And like AB said earlier, it starts internally. Because I've always said that, your input would define your output. And what you put in you has to be the correct information. And I truly believe this is what we're going to be doing on March the 28th, that Friday evening. So come ready. Again, we're not playing with this thing. We're going to let the devil know. We're going to let the individuals know that, God people are still here. The servants of the Most High are still here. We ain't going nowhere. And we're going to start taking back and changing it. That's why I asked this question. Do we eradicate it? And I'm glad that you guys, most of us, I know I ain't came to Daryl yet, but I know Daryl. We talk a lot too. And I know his feelings towards a lot of things. We got to come up with a better plan than this, because this plan that we're seeing is not working. So Daryl, I'm coming to you, my brother, coming right down the pipe. What is your response or your take in regards to this system, the normalization, I should say, of this system versus eradicating the whole dang on thing? Unmute your mic, Daryl.
Eradicate it. It's not working. And McVay said it, Bonner said it, Mark said it, Lewis said it. We're all saying the same thing. It's not working because it starts in the mind. You got to want to change, first of all. And what goes in you is what's going to come out of you. And from what I'm seeing with the youth today, this is just my personal opinion, the videos, these cell phones, this is their lifeline. Mm-hmm. Anything that's published or put on here, they believe it. And we see it as false, fake news, whatever you want to call it. But the youth today, this is real news. And this is what they hang their hat on. And McVay said it, the booty shaking, and blah, 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 all that's glorified. The worse you can look, you can see where they don't take any time with education. They don't read any books. They don't care about that. Just put it on a video. And whatever that says is what I'm going to do. However that looks, that's what I'm going to perform. That's what we're dealing with today with today's youth. There's not a one shot that's going to fix it all. The seminar that we're going to have, the summit that we're going to have, it's just a kickstart. And I hope that it goes further. I really do. But watch and see the ones that come. We've been putting this out now for 3.5 months, maybe 2.5 months. Watch and see the group that comes. Those are the ones that want to change. Watch the parents that come with their children. Those are the ones that want change in their home. The rest of it, Mark said it, Tyler said it, that they just don't, in so many words, they just don't give a damn. We care. We've been through it. We've had to cycle. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "So once were you." When I look at the youth today, I have to look at myself in the mirror. I made some bad choices also. I just didn't get caught. I did the same thing, but it looks like to me when we had something on our back or on our trail, we got fearful of it. We didn't want to fool with it. Today, they run to it like Wood say, they run to it. And that's kind of something is off here. So when we put this summit together, or when we put it together, I thought about a lot of things that I could bring to the table for the youth. My whole goal and purpose is to influence someone, if it's just one, because you can do it. But we gotta stay the course, and this can't be the end all be all one time. This can't be a one-shot deal. It's gotta be repetitive, and it's gotta be in their ear, but it starts in their minds. Once we can get in some of those minds, we can change, man. I'm a living witness. It can happen.
You know what? No doubt. You're certainly right there. It definitely can happen, and I think that it will. I want to go back to something that Greg talked about earlier when he was talking about when they get in front of the robe. There was a video of a young man. I don't know if y'all saw it on social media, but he was in front of the judge, and I guess he didn't really think the terms of his crime, the level of the punishment that could have been imposed. And when the judge looked at him and told him that your charge is capital murder, which requires the death penalty or life, he dropped. It's like his stomach came up out his body, and he looked back up because he couldn't, he couldn't connect with that. And these are the things that we're talking about when we're doing a summit like this, is educating. If there's anything I know, it's about laws. I know these laws, these federal statutes, these state statutes, man. I know how to go in there and talk and dialogue and try to at least reach some of the kids. We won't get them all. We won't get them all. And Daryl, also to something that you said, I learned years ago, listened to a lecture years ago, an individual, he stated that he had grown to a point to where he used to go and speak to multitudes of people. But it got to a point over years of life that God blessed him to say, if he walked into the auditorium, there was one person that was there and they was able to grasp the message, then we would have done our job. It's kind of like in a time of the history of in Islam, there was a time when Muhammad the prophet, he was sitting there he was doing this dialogue with this man. He was a real, like a aristocratic person in that time, and he was steady trying to talk to him about God, But there was a blind man that came along, and he was pulling at his pants leg, and he ignored the blind man because he felt like this guy had so much valor that if he came on board, then everybody else would listen. And God reminded him about the blind man that was pulling at him. See, everybody ain't gonna want the message, and everybody's not gonna comprehend or get the message. You got to go to, like my brother Mark said earlier, you got to go to the ones that really want it. And this is what we're about, because we're at the point now. Nobody is aging backwards. We're at that point right now. We look up every day and somebody is checking out of here, man, every day. So I always ask people, what's going to be on your resume? What's going to be on your tongue when God asks you, what did you do to try to help facilitate? Because we're not asking for a dime on this here summit. It's free. It's free. It's open to the public. We want people to come. We want the parents to come. We want you to bring your children. We want you to enjoy the message, what's going to be happening. We're going to be talking about. Enjoy the insightful information. We got business, local leaders. We got business people, business owners. We got former athletes. We got guys who've gone through the gamut, who've experienced inside out. So we're tailor fitting this right down the path of those parents who complain about so much. And I'm on the record of saying this, because when a party go out, when they put the flyer out for the party, everybody get razor sharp. And I'm not going to name no names, but you got the First Fridays, you got all this other stuff. They get razor sharp and can't miss the party. And then when you start talking about, where them fans at, and you got little girls on social media flapping out the fans now. I don't need to know where the fans at. I need to know where the parents at. See, where are the parents? And you need to have real boots on the ground. So that's what we're going to be bringing. We're going to be bringing something that I feel like I'm telling you guys, I feel like when I'm putting them pads on again, all over again, we can't go back in that or that jersey, AB. I feel like that again. I feel like I'm getting ready to go. Like, yeah, I see you, Satan. We see you loud and clear. We see your helpers. We see your workers, but we coming. We coming. And whatever happens, happens. Let that be on my resume. Because like I always say, man, like my life, my living, my sacrifice is all for God now. You know, whatever we did back in the day, see, the rearview mirror is made to look from how far you've come, but the widest windshield is in the front. It's on the car. And that's why we got to keep going down the highway and keep pushing this thing forward. Because if we don't do it again, evil will prevail. And I be dang on my resume, I go back for God and say, God, surely you know before I even open up my mouth. But at least I want to tell you that I tried. And these gentlemen that's joining me on March the 28th on that Friday, they tried. And we did everything that we could to try to make a difference. And that's where I'm at with it, man. So this is way bigger than Jabril. It's way bigger than Rodney. It's way bigger than AB. It's way bigger than Antoine. It's way bigger than Greg. It's way bigger than Mark. It's way bigger than Daryl, EJ, Marcus, you know, Ray, other people who's coming on, Officer B and Terry, other people. It's way bigger than us. This is a community joint effort. A community joint effort. But before I say any more, I want to, because we only got 2 questions I want to ask you guys, and we're going to get through this, and then we'll close out the evening. But the other question I have, and I'm coming to you again on this, Rodney. This question that I have is based on the summit in and of itself. And you know, I reached out to every last one of you guys, and I've talked to some of you guys off air even prior to this. But like I said, I was just sitting up contemplating and thinking about certain things. God gave it to me. But in terms of what the youth summit, or youth, I should say, education entrepreneur summit, what inspired? I want to ask each one of you this: what inspired each of you to support the Youth Educational Entrepreneur Summit, aka YES, as I like to say, the acronym for YES? Say yes to success. What inspired you, Rodney, when you got the call from me? And I'm gonna tell you something, man. When I called you, it was like you actually popped up on social media, and this is why I know God don't make no mistakes. Because it wasn't in my, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't in my pre-thought. But when I got on my phone and saw, and I know Rodney, it just, and I asked when I called you, and lo and behold, I know how busy you can get. Man, you was, and I'm gonna tell y'all, share this with y'all. He told me, man, he said, Jabril, he said, man, I'm clearing everything off my, and that's when it started. I talked to you a little bit, Mark, but he told me, man, I'm clearing everything off my plate. And then it led from there. And I knew I called my brother AB. So on and so on. So anyway, what is inspiring you to come on and do this youth summit, man? Let the people know.
You, your passion, your heart, where you want to go, where you want to take it. Because it starts somewhere, and it's got to start with somebody, right? And if it's you that's, been led to do this, which we all feel like we all been led to help and inspire and turn our own family members around, our own friends around, our own loved ones in other communities, in other cities, in other states. But it always starts somewhere, man. So when you told me that, it inspired me, 100%, because I've always been about helping. I could have hurt a lot of people back in the day. I never did. I'll talk to you before I hurt you. I'm going to love on you before I hurt you. I've always been that way. But at the end of the day, it was all about you. You have a passion. You have an affinity. You want to make change. And it's got to start with somebody. So there's always somebody that's going to be a leader. And you got some others who will follow you, but also be leaders in their own way. So that's why.
Wow, man. Much love. It's touching, man. Like I'll tell people all the time, as much as you see my exterior, man, so y'all don't see the tears that cry at night. You don't see the, when you're in a situation and you don't want to, they say, men cry in the dark. You don't want to see that. But when I see these little babies and these kids, that's losing their life, bro, they don't even get a chance to even live out their dreams. We might have fought, but we hugged it out later. Because like somebody said earlier, it's no coming back from that. And they don't know they playing Fortnite, but ain't no coming back from that. None of it. So we got to make that difference, man. We got to make that difference. But Greg, I'm gonna come to you, man, because that's, man, that hits home. But Greg, coming to you, my brother. what has inspired you, man, to want to come into the youth summit and make this difference, make this change? Unmute your mic, Greg.
Well, I want to see a change, and I love kids, you know, and I like to see young men, you know, as they get older, enjoy life, and you know, and turn around and do the same for the kids behind them, you know. And then back in the early '90s, you know, when before it was really popular like now, you know. I know, you know, a lot of guys remember a guy maybe don't know him, Mookie Smith.
Right.
You
Yeah.
got to change his job from West Dallas to South Dallas, which is Bunton, and you know, he asked me to come over
Rest in
and
peace, Mookie.
volunteer with
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
and this was like 91, 92, and I just loved it, you know, teaching the football, you know, the track, you know, and ever since then it just been like I love the kids because they so, you know, honest and pure, you know, and they just and when you can find a group of kids like that, man, and you can help kids, and when I see them kids now, they grown and they be like, man, I appreciate you, you know, coming up to the school when we acting bad, getting on us, you know, keeping us out of trouble, you know, and that just feel good when you can, you know, look back and say, man, I really helped that kid turn his life around, and you know, show them things different from the projects. Because you know, on the weekends we used to have 15, 20 kids at our house, you know, take them to the skating ring, taking them to do things and see something besides, you know, what was going on over there in Bonton and Rose Terrace and Dixon Circle. So, you know, and they love that experience, and that little experience, see, let's show them that it was a world outside of that. You know, you can do something with your life. You can be much more. You know, you have something to shoot for, just like me growing up, you know, growing up Oak Cliff, you know, and all that. And once,
Yeah.
you know, I seen there was something else when I went to college. I ain't never want to come home for what? I want to travel, you know, and run track professionally. My mama said, "Boy, you ain't seen. You need to come home." I said, "Mama, these people pay me $1,000 a week. What I need to come back to Royal Crest for? Ain't nothing going on over there."
That's what we grew up in, Royal Crest. And you know, big shout out to Oak Cliff Boys Club and Amo and all those guys, Greg, because you know those guys was, you know, they was definitely a part of our life, man. Definitely a part. And I'm gonna call him. I'm trying to get him over because, man, I mean, you know, it's only certain people that you remember growing up as a kid. I know we all have those individuals in our lives, man, but if they're still here, oh man, we got to pay homage. We got to look back, man, and let them know, man, that thank you, man. Thank you. And Amo with the boy, he's still over there at the record over in West Dallas, man. And yeah, and I spoke on his program several years ago. So we're gonna try to get him out too, and I'm gonna be calling him up. So Mark, let me come to you real quick. In reference to this, you know, what has inspired you, my brother, to come, you know, do this, man, to help these young people?
And you know why I'm here. Fool 'em. Willie Webb. You are an extension of what me and Willie Webb started way back in the day, Doc. You and Greg. Willie Webb, bro. Y'all continuing what y'all were doing, the Wilma Hutchins thing. And think that this thing called athletics, our greatest blessing, becomes our greatest lesson. Y'all have learned a whole bunch from this sports thing. And we know what this vehicle can do for a kid. It causes discipline and leadership. You got to be for real with it. You can't run from it. So we want to direct them into athletics because we know the discipline it takes and the respect you can get from them. But it's the leadership that goes with it. These kids just want to get it and think they're going to be a star. But you can be 0 and 15 and somebody going to be the MVP at the bank. We got to tell them that the effort that you take translates into life. You know, so that's what we're teaching. That's why I'm a part of it, man. I just like the fact that y'all are continuing to do what I met y'all doing when y'all were talking to Webb about doing. Now the vision y'all walking in, man. So however I can help you, I am. I got 20 kids that's coming. Their mamas already called me and told me when I send them the fly.
Wow. Wow. And let me just say this. Yeah, a shout out to Willie Webb because Willie Webb did a lot with that football camp that he had going. I'm trying to really get him back into the, you know, the form of that. And I know he had his own setbacks with the loss not only his son to violence, but his daughter passed away too. So, you know, Will is one of those good brothers in the community too, man. And so we're gonna try to lift brothers up, man, because brothers do need lifting too. But AB, I won't let everybody know because it's not like everybody. You got cut down some more, AB, getting that feedback. I want to let everybody know that everybody that's on the platform is not just in Dallas. This brother here is coming all the way from Georgia, Kennesaw, Georgia, as a matter of fact. And when I called him up, like I said, he and I, we talk off air. I've been knowing him for, with about 30 years now. And I've been to his hometown. He's, hails from St. Louis originally. He's been around the world. His ministry has taken him all the way to Israel, right, AB? And he's worked with the youth and continues to work with the youth. And he got a heck of a son himself. 6'9" is coming up. I think they just went down and played for state. So I know he got some skin in the game. He got some skin in the game. And I know things like this, I already know his heart. So AB, speak to the platform, man. Speak to those who are listening to this show this evening about what we're embarking upon come Friday, March the 28th, up at Wilmer Hutchins Auditorium, 5520 Langdon Road. Speak to that, AB.
Well, first of all, brother, I salute you for even stepping out where many people won't step out. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery, and to step out in such an area that continues to be what seems to be an insurmountable and unsolvable problem in our society. I thank you for that. I thank you for inviting me. But, for me, my man, it's a privilege and an honor. I've been blessed to be in full-time ministry for the last 16 years. And this is the purpose of my life. God has allowed me to travel the world, to be in and out of prisons, medium and max security, juvenile detention centers, alcohol and drug rehab centers, high school, colleges. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're preaching a message. And my message is just the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's the comeback. That your life is never over, that you can start exactly where you are and still win. It doesn't matter how bad it's been, who's not there, what you don't have. You were still created to win, and you can win. It doesn't matter what's going on in this country, who the president is, what the economy is, all the darkness. You were created to rule and reign and walk in light. But you got to understand what that costs, what that pathway is, and what you're going to encounter along the way, and be equipped to walk in the straight and narrow way. Because as all of us have said, none of us is going to change anything that happens on March 28th. We're coming to plant and water, and God will give the increase. We're going to plant, we're going to water. Because at the end of the day, what I understand too, my man, I heard a lot of people give me a lot of vital information in my 20s and 30s, but I had to go through a lot of failure and bump my head a lot before it really resonated and I received it and walked in it. So, there's a path that all these young people have to walk. And prayerfully, some of them will take heed to the messengers that God sent in their lives along the way and wake up sooner rather than later, so that they can experience adulthood and be a father, be a mother, have children, and do the same thing we're doing. But at the end of the day, like you said, brother, it's a call, and I'm answering the call. And whenever there's an open door to be a blessing to young people, no matter where it is, as long as God allows, I'm going. So thank you for the invite.
Oh, thank you, my brother. Thank you. And again, my man Antoine. And again, this brother's traveled the world himself. You know him, and he's always been a positive brother to me. We've always, had an opportunity, some admiration for one another. So I knew God placed, him also in my mental Rolodex. And if there's anybody I know is worth his salt and his ilk, is my man Antoine McBay. Antoine, speak to us, man. What the inspiration, what inspired you, man, to come do this on March the 28th, Friday evening up at Wilmer Hutchins Auditorium?
1,000% you. 1,000% you. Everyone has their calling and their purpose, and this is your calling, your purpose. One of the greatest leaders to ever walk this planet that I follow was asked, how do you achieve greatness? How do you achieve greatness? And he said, find a way to serve the many, for service to many leads to greatness. I'm following greatness. That's you. You're here serving. You have the heart to serve the many. the many of the youth, the many of the parents of the youth. And so I'm just following the server to do my part in your calling. And if we can bless those who are there, so be it. That's what we're here to do. I believe it's already written who's going to be there, who's going to show up, and who's not. And who's going to receive it will receive it. And so I'm here 1,000% because of you, brother.
Oh man, I appreciate it. And I received that very humbly, man. But let me just say this, man. I give all praise to the Most High God. It has nothing to do with me, and I appreciate it. But I seen a problem, and we could talk about the problem all day. But when do we finally work on a solution? And I was reminded of that, man, the story of the boy who was working, who was complaining about the math problem. He complained all day long until the teacher finally told him, when are you going to start working on a solution? So we're working on a solution. We're not like a Daryl, I think he said earlier. I mean, we're not going to do this all, overnight. It's going to be a process, but I think we got to start somewhere, and so I picked up that mantle and I looked at it, and I'm gonna keep, moving and until God, calls my soul home. But I want you guys to know, man, I'm humbled, man, by your presence. I really am. So I'm gonna come to Daryl because, again, this brother and I, when I tell you, how far we go back and the things that we've talked about off the air, on the air, just being there, even in my darkest moments and hours, and we talked and things of this nature, and we talked about, his program, that he called me, he said, Jabril, I need you on the board, man. And I'm humbled, to even, for him to even, invite me to that Sports Business Institute, which I think is a tremendous program that the kids will get an opportunity to listen and hear about it. But to be able to come up that intellectual property, him and his wife Lisa, and big shout out to Lisa. I think that we got to make that happen, Daryl. And we talked about that. And this is just a start, man, because we talked about a lot. But I want you to speak to it, man. What has inspired you to move in this direction? And here we are now, from the genesis of when we started. But here we are now.
Well, let me say this to you, piggyback off some of the other brothers. It was definitely you and your energy. I mean, my wife and I, through God's grace, created a program for the youth to look at the business side of sports. And you and I spent a lot of time talking. I mean, for years we had, even before we got here, but God had already sowed the seed, and He knew who was going to carry this out. And He chose you and I. And I never shall forget this, Jabril. When you and I were talking about this, I think we started crying over the phone together one night. We just kind of, I could hear it in you and you heard it in me. And we both said, man, we got to do something different. And God laid on our heart, my wife and our heart, to come up with keep in mind, it was about a 3 or 4 year plan. And we had to take that plan and make that plan work. When you called me about this summit, it was already predestined that we was going to do this. The seed was already sown. We just had to put it together. But it was because of your passion. And when you called me and I said, man, I'm there. I mean, I could be there if I don't even be on the program. I'll be there to support the other brothers. Because we are those coaches now that we used to look up to. Remember those guys that took time out with you? Well, guess who they are now? It's us. It's us. So we're at that stage in our lives where we're able to give back. I wasn't always able to give back. I was one of the rascals that ran and did all the crazy. I did a whole bunch of craziness too in my life. But now God has put it in stone to where, hey, I'm going to use this vessel, this vessel, this. He's just using us as vessels. And it took you to take the mantle and start the race. And now you just passing the baton. The 6 of us on this panel, you just pass it one leg to the next leg, and we're going to run with it. And I'm very, very grateful for it, man. This is something that has taken a long time for me to get here, and I'm not going to turn back now because I see a need. I see a need, man. It's almost a need to where what has taken us so long to get here, because we already felt it, we already knew it. So it was because of your energy and laws of attraction that attracted me right directly to you and what you were doing with this program, and I couldn't wait to do it. And I'm very, very thankful and grateful that you called me up and said, hey brother, let's run this race together. I appreciate that, Jabril. Thank you so much.
I'm humbled, and let me just say this, because again, sometimes we try to get ahead of God's plan, and we don't slow down. And I play certain things about my life over and over and over again. Decision making, right? Because we're talking about critical thinking, critical decision making. And one thing that I told myself, don't get ahead of God's plan. So it's all in God's timing, Daryl. You see what I'm saying? Nights upon nights that we've talked, discussions, Mark, AB, Rod, Antoine, Greg, I just come to know, man, it's all in God's timing. And when you see something, if it doesn't start to have an effect on your soul and your sensitivities, then you need to have a reality check, because everybody has to look in the mirror and have to evaluate themselves and have to understand that we playing with a short deck right now. We're playing with a short deck. So again, it's in God's time. And so, guys, I gotta get ready to close out the show, but I got this last question. We're coming up on the hour. Got the last question I want to ask you guys, and it's just a simple question. One of the things I wanted to know anyway on this last question is, what are you all looking for? And I go back. What are you all looking forward to the most come Friday evening, March 26th? Excuse me, March 20. Let me make sure I clear. March 28th. I'm sorry, March 28th, Friday evening, up at Wilmer Hutchins High School Auditorium, 5520 Langdon Road. And I'm just going to come down at the bottom first. I'm going to go with AB on this one. AB, what are you looking forward to the most come that evening? I'm sorry, AB. Let me get you off of mute.
Experience.
I got you now.
You hear me?
I can hear you fine.
I'm looking forward to just showing up, brother. Because I know when you show up, God is capable of doing anything just by your obedience and showing up. And, I'm expecting great things to happen on this evening. I know hearts are going to be changed. I know some minds are going to be renewed. And I know that there's going to be some young people as well as some adults that's going to leave that place, and life will never be the same again for them.
Love, man. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Y'all, let me just, man, y'all warming the brother's soul up, man. That's my brother right there, man. Antoine, let me come to you. I'm gonna work my way over to my brother right here, this Kimball Knight, man. And congratulations to those Kimball Knights, man. I did talk to the sister, see how God worked. I reached out to him, Antoine. Sister called me back, and when I gave my elevator pitch, it wasn't 15 to 20 minutes, because she was already saying, well, I'm just a mediator, I'm the assistant, but whatever I pretty much kind of say, that's how it's gonna go. It wasn't 15 minutes when she called me back. She said, count us in. They love it. So we'll have the high school state champions in Class 5A Kimball Knights. Congratulations to them, that varsity team, but also with Coach Nikki Smith. So big shout out to Kimball. Will be in the house that evening too. But Antoine, again, what are you looking forward to that night?
Well, first, let me say congratulations to Coach Smith, head coach of Kimball basketball. Congratulations to athletic director, Coach Harris. And so very, very elated, obviously being a Kimball Knight. I'm looking forward to meeting the young men and women that attend. I'm looking forward to meeting some of the parents, because I know the people that show up to that event, they're seeking change. They're seeking information. And so those are the people that we want to give our undivided attention to give them what they need to seek and to grab that change. And so it starts with them being there. That's where it all starts. And then I think we take it a step further after being there. I mean, some, there's going to be another one, and then another one. And then this is, like you guys said, this is just the beginning of something that I think is going to be even greater, right? And even more schools participate in. So it's just the beginning. I'm looking forward to all the people that are going to be there, meeting them, and just being under that spout where the information comes out, because this is going to be one hell of an informational spout with the panel of brothers that you have being there today.
I agree, man. I definitely agree. Daryl, what are you looking forward to, man, at night?
I'm actually looking forward to just to sowing some seeds, Jabril. I want to be a seed sower that night. I want to take that God has given me and just spread the seed. And wherever that seed fall on, that's who's going to receive it. But I'm going to do my best to make sure every individual there get my best. I want them to bring their best. I'm going to give them my best. I just want to sow seeds, my brother.
I love it, man. I love it. Sowing seeds. I love it. That's kind of like the dissemination they talk about when you're sowing seeds, the flowers, when the wind blows, it blows the seeds, man, a cultivation. And we have to be able to cultivate the mind. And that's what we want to do that evening. So let me go up top, man. Let me go up top to my man, Mark. This hard worker. You're almost like James Brown, one of the hardest men working around in the circle. My man, Mark Tyler. Mark, what you looking forward to that evening, man?
First of all, let me say what's happening to Mac Day, man. That's my guy. He told me he was international, but I didn't believe him. He had to show up. That's my guy. And another thing, there's a lot of y'all mentioning Oak Cliff, so I know y'all should have went to Roosevelt. So y'all robbed me. Y'all robbed all the Mustangs going over there to Hutch, but that's cool. That's cool. But the one
I
thing
tried to
about
get Daryl, man. I really did. I tried to get him over there, but he was living over there like you was.
yeah, well, we ain't gonna talk about that. But anyway,
Yeah, that's another conversation for another day. Yeah, he right at the park where we used to practice at in Little League with the Comets. Mark here. But anyway,
but the thing about mentoring, man, is we get to see what the kids become. So once we meet them, we'll always have an opportunity to have a relationship with them. But if we meet them at 10, 12, 15, 16, we get to see what they become. All we have to do is keep in contact with them. How many kids did we see grow up? And we'll get to see these kids and meet them, and we'll get to teach them something and build a relationship with them. And the greatest thing is we'll get to see what they become. Now, good or bad, we get to see what they become. But at least we'll have an impact at some point in time in their life to give them the opportunity to say, you can go left or you can go right. The choice is yours. Just go right. So that's
just
what
go
I'm
right.
excited about.
Just go right. Greg Lou, my guy. What are you looking forward to, man, that evening? The most. Let me unmute your mic, Greg.
Well, I'm looking forward to telling a story that you want me to tell. And it's going to be a big surprise.
I got you. I got you. I got you.
It's
I got
very, it's going to be very shocking, and it's going to be very interesting. And I'm looking forward, meeting, meeting the guys, meeting the parents and the kids. But this is going to be my first time, coming out and speaking about, my situation. Because you asked me to, and we go a long way back, and I think it's time, and I think it will help a lot of kids because where
It
I'm
will.
from, I play sports, and the things I've been through, and this story that God put me through. I call it both sides of the field of the fence.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Right.
I think it's going to be very interesting. That these kids see what I went through.
Right. Right. Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it too because, like I said, they need to hear those stories because it ain't always when you think about certain elements, there's a certain mindset that comes into play. It ain't always what you think or how it looks. And I don't want to just, like I said, I won't go into it, but it ain't always because, in other words, if you think that it can't happen to you, it can.
Yeah.
It can. And it's really shocking how it can happen. So I'm with you, my brother. So I can't, I'm looking forward to definitely, hearing that story, man, and as well as I think the people that's going to be in the audience, man, for these parents as well as these young people, most definitely. Well, I got my man Rodney. I need to know, brother. We need to know, what are you looking forward to the most come Friday evening, March the 28th?
What I look for most always is just waking up that next day and having another day to be blessed, to be here, to be able to see all of you guys, and to be able to have the opportunity to change lives. That's the most important thing for me. I'm just excited about having the opportunity. The big O is always the opportunity to make change. to get people to follow you, Jabril, and what you're doing and what you've actually led us to do. And we all have our own paths and stuff like that. But for me, it's always about the opportunity, man. If you can touch a life, change a life, man, you're doing good. You're doing good. You got to feel good about yourself. Self is just not going to get up and take care of you. And I know AB speaks to all this too, and all the fellows on the call speak to this, but it's about the opportunity, man. Just making change. But I do want to see families or friends or kids or loved ones embrace each other. Because I think we all really, not saying us personally, but I truly think we don't forget how to love each other. That's what I think, man. That's how I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, that's going to conclude it. And before we actually wrap it up, I'm just going to share briefly what I'm looking forward to. What I'm really looking forward to is seeing the young people faces. And I'm praying on it. And I know you all are men of prayer and believe in prayer. And I'm praying that these young people, as well as their parents, especially single moms, would do themselves a favor, because I really believe that they are, in for a treat. But I'm also looking forward to, the brotherhood. I believe we're starting on something or embarking on something, man, that is very rich and much needed within our culture. The brotherhood and the relationships. Because one thing about a reunion, we always dread, you hear about somebody, moving on, a transition from this life, and everybody meet up. We'll see then. But what about when we still breathing and we're alive and you can smell one another? Hope you wearing good cologne and all that. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm talking about. Because at the end of the day, all we really have is the memories. That's all we really have. And we have to create more good memories than bad memories. And so I'm really looking forward to that, because just like we're speaking this into existence, like right now, 10, maybe God willing, 15, even 20 years from now, right? We'll look back on this and say, y'all remember we did this? Even when you look at some of those old pictures that you took way back in the 80s or the 90s or whatever, you look at those pictures, you say, wow, we didn't think that we would probably ever get here. And you know what? I remember saying this to an old man. He had all this gray and everything. I was young. I was just a little young whippersnapper. And I said, oh, man, you got a lot of gray. And the man, I never forget, he looked at me and he said in such a humble, simplest way, he said to this. He said, keep living, young blood. And y'all know they had that word in the 70s. He said, keep living, young blood. And I was looking at him like, not really knowing what he was talking about, but now understand what he's talking about. Keep living. Your time is coming. Nobody's aging backwards. So we got to create the best opportunities and the best memories that we can possibly do. And that's what I'm really looking forward to come Friday evening, March 28th at Wilmer Hutchins Auditorium, 5520 Langdon Road in Dallas, Texas. I'm looking to fellowship, the brotherhood that we've created, and the things that we're able to do and trying to make an impact with our young people. So that'll conclude the show. For those of y'all who came on and joined and listened to, individuals such as Rodney Wood, Greg Lewis, Mark Tolliver, Anthony Bonner, Antoine McBay. We had EJ Muhammad that was with us that had to leave early, but also Darrell Williams. Don't confuse Lisa Williams. That's not his name. His name is Darrell Williams. He just happened to be on his wife's laptop. Okay. But we had some other individuals who are part of this platform too. So we're going to come back next Tuesday, God willing, and do this with the other 6 individuals that we have also that's on the platform. So we done built this thing out, and we're building this thing out. And this is not, again, it's not about us. It's about our community paying it forward, because there are a lot of people who helped us as well. So again, without any other further delay, I want to thank you all for coming on. For those of you all who did come on, please, please, please tell someone, tell a friend, or tell a friend. Tell them that this is something that's going to be big for our youth, and we're trying to do the best thing we can, and they need to come out and get this information, because we got a gamut of things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about financial literacy, NIL. We're going to talk about the education of, the pipeline to education as opposed to pipeline to prison. We're going to be talking about, business contracts, workforce development. We're going to talk about these things. So again, encourage people to come out. Guys, take this, whatever I'm putting out, please put it on your social media pages. Let people know. All right. So again, I want to thank you, brothers, man, from the bottom of my heart, man, for coming on, doing this. This is a us thing. I don't believe in I as a personal pronoun. This is a us thing. We're going forward with it, and we're doing God's will. So I want to thank you all again for coming on with me, sharing this evening. Don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, and share button and the notification button. I got 2 channels that I do, Black Voxy Podcast, and this is the Replay Sports Show. It's just a subject matter that we cover in I Am Student Athlete. Okay, but don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, and share button. And when we come on, you'll be notified. So again, I want to thank y'all for coming on with me. This has been a wonderful talk this evening. I am Jabril A. Rashad, your host. Peace and love. Y'all be safe, and let's keep riding this thing until the wheels fall off. Everybody have a good evening, and I am through the